Right now, somewhere in the world, someone's sitting in silence asking, "Why me?" Someone else is staring out a window, wondering if the weight they've been carrying will ever make sense, or if it's just pain for pain's sake. But what if there's a different way to see it? What if, buried inside every painful moment, there's a secret doorway, something so powerful that once you step through, you never see yourself or your life the same way again? Stick with me to the end of this video, because I'm going to share with you the exact truth that helped Viktor Frankl survive one of the darkest, most brutal chapters in human history, and how that truth could change how you carry your suffering forever. Let's be honest. Most of us spend our lives running from pain. We numb it with scrolling, we bury it under busyness, or we try to silence it with distractions. Because everywhere we look, the message is loud and clear: suffering is a problem. Pain means something's broken, something's wrong with us, or worse, it means we're failing at life. So when pain shows up, we panic. We try to fix it. We ask, how do I stop this? Or worse, what's wrong with me that I can't? But Viktor Frankl, he saw pain differently. He was a young, brilliant psychologist when the Holocaust swept away everything he knew. His family, his career, his freedom, every comfort and every certainty gone. He was thrown into a world where survival itself was a miracle. And yet, in that hell, Frankl made a discovery that would echo far beyond his own life. He realized something radical, that suffering isn't the end of meaning, it's often the beginning. That pain, as brutal as it feels, might just be the place where we come most fully alive. Frankl once wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." And that idea flips everything we've been taught on its head. Pain doesn't always mean something's gone wrong. Sometimes, it's life's way of asking us to rise, to look deeper, to grow. It's not about escaping suffering, it's about asking, what is this trying to show me? Think back for a second. Was there ever a moment where pain forced you to stop, really stop? Maybe it was grief, a breakup, illness, or just that crushing feeling of not being seen. In those moments, the world shrinks. Everything gets quieter, sharper. You start noticing things. The people who care, the tiny comforts that never used to matter. You see life more clearly, almost painfully so. Frankl saw this too. In the camps, people lost their homes, their clothes, even their names. Everything that once gave them identity was stripped away. And what was left? The truth of who they really were, and what really mattered. That's the strange, almost sacred power of suffering. It clarifies. It burns away what's fake, what's shallow, what no longer serves us. And in that empty, uncomfortable space, something new can begin. Frankl also wrote, "Everything can be taken from a person, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." That's the power most people forget they still have. Even in the middle of the worst kind of pain, you still have that freedom, to choose how you meet it. Most of us think pain only matters if we can beat it or avoid it. But Frankl's truth was this: pain becomes bearable when we give it meaning. In the camps, the survivors weren't always the strongest physically. They were the ones who had something to live for. A person they loved. A belief they refused to let go of. A future hope. Even something as small as a promise left unfulfilled. Meaning didn't erase their suffering. It transformed it. Frankl said, "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how." This doesn't mean you fake gratitude for your pain, or pretend everything's fine when it clearly isn't. It just means ask the deeper question: what is this suffering asking me to become? Because pain without meaning, that kind of pain crushes you. But pain with meaning, that's the stuff that gives birth to the strongest, wisest parts of you. And here's the truth no one tells you. The suffering you survive, if you're willing to face it honestly, can become your greatest source of strength, compassion, wisdom. When you survive something you thought would destroy you, you become the kind of person others turn to when their world falls apart. not because you've got all the answers, but because you've walked through fire and made it out the other side. Frankl believed that suffering, when faced with honesty, doesn't just change us, it deepens us. It makes us softer where we were once guarded. It makes us more open, more human. He said it teaches us how to really love, how to forgive faster, and how to see the quiet beauty in the things others ignore. He wrote, "What is to give light must endure burning." And that line, let it sit for a second. Because your pain, it's not pointless. It might be forging something inside you right now that could, one day, light the way for someone else. Here's the thing, when most people suffer, their first question is, why is this happening to me? And that's normal. It's human. But Frankl learned to ask something different. Something that changes the entire game. What is life expecting from me right now? That one shift, from why me to what now, is powerful. It moves you from feeling like a victim of your story to becoming the writer of it. Even in the worst conditions, we still have that choice. How do I want to meet this moment? Do I want to shut down? Or open up? Do I want to grow bitter or grow better? That tiny window of choice. It's the seed of freedom. Now let's be clear. This isn't about pretending it's not hard. It is hard. It's brutal. And sometimes it feels like too much. But it's also true that there's a strength inside you that you may never have found if life had gone according to plan. And if you've ever felt completely lost in your suffering, I want you to hear this. There is another side. Frankl's insight wasn't just a theory, it came from the depths of unthinkable loss. And yet, the meaning he discovered there became a path that helped millions find their way through darkness. So, how exactly do we find that meaning? Frankl described 3 main ways that people discover meaning, even when everything around them falls apart. First, through creative work or meaningful action. This might be something you make, build, write, or even repair. When you pour yourself into a project, a goal, or a mission, even a tiny one, it gives the pain a purpose. You're no longer just suffering, you're creating. And creation is life's way of saying, there's still something more. Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's painting, maybe it's just planting a tree or cooking dinner for someone who needs it. Creation, no matter how small, gives your suffering shape, it gives it direction. Second, through love and human connection. Frankl saw how even in the camps, people held on because of love. The thought of seeing their family again, the memory of someone's smile, the warmth of helping a stranger, even the smallest gesture, a shared crust of bread, a kind word, could carry someone through another day. Love, in its purest form, is meaning. Even if you've lost someone, love doesn't vanish. It transforms. It can still guide you. You can love through memory, through service, through kindness to someone else in pain. And third, through the attitude you choose when nothing else is left. This one's the hardest. When you're stripped of freedom, when there's no clear way out, when everything feels dark, you still have the power to choose how you carry your pain. Frankl watched people hold on to their dignity in conditions meant to destroy them. He saw that even when they had no food, no shelter, no hope, they still had values. Integrity, compassion. Sometimes, just surviving with your soul intact is an act of defiance, a victory. And that attitude, that choice to hold on to what matters inside of you, it's the kind of strength the world can't take away. But here's the catch. Most of us aren't taught this. We're trained to run from pain, to reach for our phones, for noise, for anything that lets us avoid what we feel. But avoiding pain doesn't heal it. It just lets it grow in the dark. And Frankl's life, the message he left behind, is a loud call to stop running, to turn around, to look pain in the eye and ask it what it's here to teach us. Because when we do that, something amazing happens. We shrink the monster. We realize we're bigger than the pain we carry. And while it may not go away overnight, it loses its power to control our story. Something strange starts to happen when you stop running from suffering. You begin to become more. human. Frankl wrote that people who've walked through pain often come out with something deep and rare: compassion. Not the kind that's soft and shallow, but the kind that sees someone hurting and knows, really knows, what it's like. The kind that doesn't offer advice, but offers presence. Because when you've suffered, when you've been brought to your knees, when you've had nights where all you could do was breathe through the hurt, you start to understand what others are carrying too. And your suffering, faced honestly, becomes a bridge. You connect more easily. You listen more deeply. You judge less. Why? Because you get it. You've lived it. The people who seem the strongest, often they're the ones who've endured the most. And now, instead of hiding their scars, they use them. They use what they've learned to help others find their way out. That's the hidden power of pain. It can make you a lighthouse. No one chooses their suffering. But everyone, no matter what they've been through, has the power to choose their response. Frankl called this the last of the human freedoms, to choose your attitude, no matter the situation. That's not just inspirational fluff, it's soul-level truth. You can't always control what happens, but you can always control who you decide to be inside of it. And that doesn't mean faking positivity or pretending things are fine when they're falling apart. It means facing your reality honestly and then deciding, who do I want to become in the middle of this? Do I want to harden or soften? Do I want to lash out or lean in? Do I want to let this pain define me or refine me? Every time you choose courage instead of fear, compassion instead of bitterness, hope instead of giving up, you reclaim your life. You take the pen back from the pain and start writing your own ending. Because here's another truth Frankl discovered: nothing in life, not even your deepest suffering, has to be wasted. He saw that people could turn the ugliest moments into fuel for growth. Wisdom, service, pain, transformed by meaning, becomes purpose. So, ask yourself, what could this pain be preparing me for? Who might I help once I've made it through? What strength is being born in me right now, one I never even knew I had? The meaning you find doesn't have to be epic. You don't need to start a foundation or change the world. Sometimes, the meaning is simply deciding not to let pain close your heart. That's enough. You might not be able to change what happened, but you can choose what happens next. One of the hardest parts of suffering is having to let go of the story you thought you were living, the person you were supposed to be, the future you imagined, the love that didn't last, the dream that collapsed. But Frankl saw that the end of one story is the beginning of another. That's the beautiful, heartbreaking truth of suffering. It forces you to rewrite your script. And in that blank space, where everything once was, there's room for something new to grow. Pain is not the enemy. It's the soil where deeper love can grow, where new dreams can take root, where strength you never asked for starts to rise. And somewhere, just beyond the edge of that pain, there's a truth waiting for you. You can't always skip the suffering, but you can learn from it. You can turn it into something that serves not just you, but others. Because the wisdom Frankl found, it's not just about surviving. It's about living differently because of what you've survived. In the next part, we'll look at how pain, when fully acknowledged, becomes one of life's greatest teachers, and why the lessons it offers are often the ones that stay with you forever. There comes a moment, maybe not right away, maybe after weeks or years, where the pain you've been carrying doesn't just feel like a burden anymore. It starts to feel like a lesson. No, it doesn't mean you're glad it happened, or that you'd wish it on anyone. But something shifts. You stop seeing suffering as just something that happened to you, and you start to see what it's doing through you. That's the space where healing begins. Frankl believed that suffering, when you face it honestly, becomes one of life's greatest teachers. But let's be real, the lessons aren't comfortable. They're not the kind that come with a tidy moral or a happy ending. Sometimes the lesson is patience, learning how to sit in the unknown when all you want is clarity. Sometimes it's humility, realizing you're not in control, and maybe never were. Life has its own pace, its own rhythms, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. Not giving up, but accepting what you cannot change, so you can finally pour your energy into what you can. Now look, the world we live in, it doesn't really make space for that. We're taught to see suffering as a mistake, as bad luck, as punishment, as a glitch in the system that needs to be fixed as fast as possible. But Frankl's wisdom tells us something deeper. Suffering can give you vision, a way of seeing that you could never access through comfort. It can grow your compassion, not the shallow kind, but the kind that really sees people. And it can give you a depth that no book, no job, no title can provide. That depth is priceless, and it's earned, not given. Most of us want pain to stop talking. But what if, instead, we listened? What if every ache, every heartbreak, every sleepless night was saying something? Maybe it's telling you what really matters. Maybe it's showing you what you've been ignoring. Maybe it's revealing something in you that still needs healing. Or maybe it's whispering that it's time to let go of something you've outgrown. Frankl taught that the meaning in pain doesn't usually show up in bright lights. It comes slowly, quietly, like dawn after a long night. It might take time. But the question to ask isn't when will this be over? It's what is this trying to teach me? That's how you shift from pain as a curse to pain as a teacher. You might discover you've been too hard on yourself, or that you've spent too long trying to prove your worth. You might uncover a strength that surprises you, or a purpose that wasn't clear before. But you won't find any of that by running. You find it by giving your pain a voice, by letting it speak, by asking what it needs from you, what it wants to transform in you. Because when you do that, you start to reclaim your power. You're no longer just enduring your pain, you're learning from it. And when you start doing that, suffering doesn't get to be your whole story anymore. It becomes a chapter, a turning point. The moment everything changed, the wisdom you gain doesn't just stay inside you. Frankl believed that the highest form of meaning, maybe the most beautiful, is when we use our pain to serve others, to help someone else who's struggling, to be the voice that says, "You're not alone, I've been there too." Your story, your scars, become a roadmap for someone else's healing. That moment when someone's breaking, and you offer your presence, your kindness, your truth, that could be the moment they start to come back to life. Sometimes, your healing becomes someone else's hope. And that's meaning. Real, life-giving meaning. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing to show up, to be honest, to be real, because someone out there is praying for proof that healing is possible. That meaning can still be found. That life doesn't end in the dark, and you, because of what you've survived, can be that proof. Frankl's greatest lesson was this: suffering is inevitable, but despair is optional. You don't get to choose everything that happens to you, but you always get to choose your response. No matter what you've lost, no matter how dark things have gotten, no one can take away your ability to choose what kind of person you want to become through it. You can let pain shut you down or open you up. You can let it turn you bitter or let it make you braver. You can let it be the end of your story or the place where something new begins. Because once you realize that suffering isn't just something to survive, but something that can give birth to meaning, your whole life starts to change. You stop asking, "How do I make this go away?" and start asking, "What do I want to create from this?" You start to see that even your worst days weren't wasted. They were shaping you, molding you, preparing you to live with more purpose than you ever imagined. You become more than just a survivor. You become a creator of meaning. Frankl said it best: everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. That's your superpower, your secret weapon, your path forward. If you're still listening, it means you're ready for more than just making it through. You're ready to live with depth, with intention, with hope. So here's where your story turns. Take a breath, And ask yourself, what is my suffering trying to teach me? How can I turn my pain into purpose? Who might need to hear my story, just to know they're not alone? Because that's the thing. Someone out there does need your story, not your perfection, not your resume, your truth. When you share what you've learned, not from a place of preaching, but from a place of presence, you become the proof that it's possible to heal, to find meaning, to live again. Your scars become bridges, and your voice becomes light. It doesn't matter how messy your past feels or how unfinished your healing is. You still have something to give, and someone out there is waiting for it. You don't have to change the whole world, just one heart, one moment, one soul who sees your journey and thinks, if they can do it, maybe I can too. And listen, this isn't about being constantly strong, or turning pain into some kind of heroic victory all the time. No. Sometimes meaning is found in the quietest choices, getting out of bed when everything hurts, choosing kindness when you're exhausted, letting yourself cry instead of pretending you're fine. These moments matter. They are seeds of healing, of resilience, of truth. And when you stack them day by day, they become a life, a meaningful life. So don't underestimate what you've survived. Don't downplay what you've endured. And don't ignore the strength you've built from the broken pieces. You're here, you're still breathing. And that means your story's not over. Frankl's wisdom, born in the darkest corners of human suffering, has lit the way for millions. Now, it's lighting the way for you. Let it guide you. Let it remind you that even your worst pain can become part of something beautiful. You have a choice today. Not about what hurt you, but about what you do with that hurt. You can create, you can connect, you can love, you can lead, you can grow, you can heal. And if this video helped you see your suffering in a new light, if something inside you shifted, share your story or your biggest lesson. Drop it in the comments. Someone else might need to read it more than you know. And if you're on this journey of meaning and healing, subscribe. We're building a space where real growth, real stories, and real hope live. Because your story matters, your voice matters. And the next chapter? It starts right now.